Good evening, everybody. My name is Sekou Biddle. I'm Vice President for Advocacy and Programs at UNCF. Thanks for joining us this evening for this community conversation, listening to students. We're looking forward to having a great conversation with a diverse group of public school students here in the District of Columbia to learn a little bit more about their experiences in education during the pandemic and to get some of their perspectives on what we can be doing for them now and in the future to better meet their needs. So with that said, you can probably see on your screens now the agenda for today's conversation. We're really aiming to have a real conversation with and between the students. So we're going to make some time for me to warm them up with a few questions that they have come up with. We're going to then open it up a little bit later on to questions from the audience. If you see on your screen the Q&A function, of audience members put questions into the Q&A, we will pivot and turn those questions to our students a little bit later on in the conversation. And to get things going, each of our student panelists have prepared an opening statement to tell you a little about themselves and some of their experiences during the pandemic. So I'm going to go ahead and get the ball rolling now. Alexis, would you mind getting us started with your opening statement?
Okay. So, my name is Alexis Toro. I'm 16, a junior at Mechanic Technology High School. And my student testimony is COVID has significantly impacted my life in a multitude of ways. Many believe it to be a negative aspect of 2020. However, I find it's a well-needed experience that has helped me become a better human being and also a student. This global dilemma has given me a great amount of personal time, which I have utilized to improve on personal skills and goals, and skills such as time management and also better my responsibility, being a better responsible person. And yes, there are various negative pieces regarding the global crisis that we're currently experiencing. But there also exists a bright side that many like to acknowledge. So, yeah.
Thank you, Alexis. Fernando, would you mind going ahead and giving us your opening statement?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Fernando Gerardo. I'm from Columbia Heights Educational Campus. And for my personal statement, I wanted to talk about how COVID has affected a lot of students in my community and also family members, and mostly in my community. I come from a very diverse school where there's a lot of ESL students, students who are learning the language. And for them, I've as a class president, I've talked to them, they've talked to me, and they've expressed their concerns on how it's harder for them to try to learn the language now that we don't get one-on-one assistance. And I've personally myself have gone through personal afflictions with having a little autistic brother who doesn't necessarily get the resources that he needs because of COVID, and it has definitely impacted a lot of his education.
Thank you. Chloe, would you mind with your opening statement now?
No, I wouldn't. Hi, everyone. My name is Chloe Mcdonald, and my student testimony is how COVID has impacted me and my school environment. So COVID has really made things harder for me and my peers because in person-to-person environment where we're going to school, kids go to school to get away from home problems, such as some students may depend on school lunch, or they may be going to school to get away from home for crazy things. So COVID has impacted me and my peers' environment, and I'm sorry. I guess virtual learning is very a struggle for some people because virtual learning has made things harder for students because the workload is not as is more than what it was in school, and virtual learning could be easier, but it's not. So in my opinion, in school is better than virtual learning.
Thanks, Chloe. I'm going to move it on to Paul. Paul, would you mind introducing yourself with your opening statement?
Hello, my name is Paul. I'm 17, and I go to and I attend the C School of DC. For me, this past year has been the craziest year. My quarantine started back in January. I was actually out on a on how do you call it? Not really how you call it, but I was out on medical leave. I had got surgery, so my leg. So I was out because of my leg. So dealing with excruciating pain nonstop every day, trying to do schoolwork from 8:30 to 4 o'clock was the hardest for me. Losing friends to family members, then having to deal with COVID, losing, which is affecting people daily, is hard, and it's affecting us students not being able to go to school and learn how we want to. Like for me, I'm a hands-on learner. I'd rather go to the board, write it out, scratch off everything, and learn that way. But I haven't been able to do that. So my grades have shown. Well, I've always been a honors student, and my grades were awesome first quarter, but my mental health is where it shows that I'm not doing the best, and I can speak for me and 50% of my school.
Thanks, Paul. Move over to Alasia. Alasia, would you mind introducing yourself to everyone?
Hi, my name is Alasia Lawson. I am 15 and a sophomore at Duke Ellington School of the Arts, and I live in Ward 6. Online learning has definitely been a change in pace and something to get used to. COVID-19 has affected me in a positive way, actually. I have thrived in online school. Last year, I had a GPA of 3.4. And since online school, I've had a GPA of 3.7. Because COVID has taught me to use organizational tools like Canvas, and I've been more focused and working at home independently.
Excellent. Thanks, Alasia. And Carl, would you mind introducing yourself to everyone?
My name is Carl Burrell. I'm a sophomore at Cardozo High School. My student testimony is that COVID ban affected me. I'm not really I can't like stare at the screen and just like learn, pick up, and then my teachers, they just like add more work. They don't finish the subject. So I'm more of a in-person, hands-on learner, and that's it.
Thanks, Carl. And I would close up introductions by asking Josiah. Josiah, would you mind introducing yourself to everybody?
Not at all. Hello, everyone. I'm Josiah Best. I am a resident in Ward 8, and I am the student body vice president at Bard High School. for me, COVID has been a very eye-opening experience, which has allowed all of us to be more flexible, open, and understanding. It has in fact allowed for people to feel more comfortable with learning in their own space, although the disconnect has made things a bit difficult. I definitely think that our biggest issue is the inability to differentiate our school from home, which can affect our mental health. My goals post-COVID are definitely to encourage hope, empathy, and the power of one's voice.
All right, thanks, Josiah. And looking forward to having a great conversation with you all this afternoon. And for our audience members, during the preparation of this conversation and the work that we've done getting to know our student panelists, they actually came up with some questions that they were going to ask each other, but they also have some questions for you, the audience. So we're going to put up now a polling question for our audience members. When the pandemic is over, do you think education will be more or less the same as before the pandemic, or will there be more major changes that students will have to adapt to? This is from Alexis. We love to have our audience members respond to the polling question. We'll come back to the answer to this question shortly. And we're going to move now into questions that our student panelists had. These are actually questions they came up with for each other. So I'm going to start with a question from Paul. Paul wanted to hear from several of his fellow panelists, and I'll move this around to a few of you. What has been the most challenging part of the pandemic for you personally? So why don't we ask for Fernando, Alexis, and Josiah to each chime in on that. What has been the most challenging part of the pandemic for you personally? Fernando, you want to get us started?
Yes. Well, one of the most challenging parts to this pandemic, has been being at home. Like, I know it's weird for a kid to say being at home and not going to school is like not fun. For me, it's that, I have a family and then I also have to help out around the house. So it's kind of hard trying to stay focused in school while, making sure that my little brother is seated down for his class, and between also making sure that, I help around my home and then getting everything that I have to do for school. So like that has been one of the main impacts about COVID.
Thanks, Fernando. Alexis, what's been the most challenging part of the pandemic for you?
Well, the most challenging part of COVID for me is most likely, adapting to virtual learning since, it's for many like first time learning online, and just waking up every morning with the changed schedule, attending class without having the teacher teaching in front of you in a whiteboard, and interacting through a device is quite a different, a change in our academics. And adapting to that has been very challenging to me, since I am not able to build up a strong relationship with my teachers and create bonds, as well as interact with other students in my classrooms. And in addition, like I have a younger sibling like Fernando, and I also have to I have a responsibility of taking care of him while in class, putting him in his classrooms as well, and that requires multitasking, and that's been another skill that I've managed to develop through through the impact of COVID, which was a struggle at first, but after a while, it became a strong suit. So yeah.
Thanks. And then Josiah, what's been the most challenging part of the pandemic for you personally?
Personally, the most challenging issue of the pandemic has been differentiating school from home, where you find yourself because I said I was the vice president, so you find yourself in meetings at like 8 o'clock at night and you find yourself going to sleep late or not waking up early enough, or you find yourself when it's time for you to relax, you're doing work and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you, Josiah. That's there's a debate going on right now about whether we're working from home or we're living at work. It sounds like you're living a little bit of that experience right now. Alasia from Duke Ellington wanted to hear from some of her peers. Has the pandemic affected you positively or negatively? Let's hear from Chloe and Carl. Chloe, what do you say? Has the pandemic affected you negatively or positively?
The pandemic has affected me negatively and positively, because as negatively is because you don't get to do things that you used to do when COVID was not here, as if going to the stores without masks, or like you having to sanitize your hands, or do everything that things used to be before COVID. And it has affected me positively because it made me think about things that I haven't thought about before COVID, or like me being at home personally, me having to do stuff like, positively, because it makes me think about myself more and have me spend time alone. But mostly negatively, because I would like to think like things how it used to be before COVID. I would like it to come back because yeah, it was better before COVID came.
Carl, how's the pandemic affected you?
It affected me negatively because it made me work more to maintain honor roll student.
Mhm.
And I had to, because I'm an athlete at Cardozo, so I had to still, work on my skills and all that. So it just made me work more. And I got my grandmother is sick, so I gotta watch her at the same time. So yeah.
Thank you. Josiah from Bard had a question. I'm going to ask the question, then I'm going to ask Josiah to explain part of the question, then I'm going to ask a couple of our panelists to respond. So Josiah wanted to know, what are your glows and grows as it corresponds to the pandemic and the way it's impacted your academic experience? So Josiah, can you explain to everybody what you mean by the glows and the grows?
So basically just saying two things that are positive, two things that were successful, and one or two things that may have been unsuccessful or may have been contradictory to your learning experience.
Excellent. So Alasia, you want to share a glow and a grow for you in terms of impact on your academic experience?
Yes. Two glows would be getting my grades higher and feeling more organized. Something I can definitely grow on is just because I'm at home doesn't mean the work needs to be done in any less time, not waiting till the last minute and procrastinating. So that's something I need to work on.
Great. And then Paul, you mind sharing a glow and a grow from your academic experience during the pandemic?
A glow is I actually met a friend from my school. Well, I didn't meet her. I won't call it friends, but I will call it associates. And during quarantine, we began to talk every day, and we like formed a close bond to the point where we do everything together. We do work together. We always make sure our work is done, completed. If they need a project done and they need help with it, she knows my door's always open for her to come in the time for me to help her. And a and a and a and a with it. A grow is like a lazy. I need to be more organized. I would literally wait till 11:50 to start an essay that's due at 11:59. Like I need to stop procrastinating and yeah, use my time more wisely.
Thanks for that. Alexis had a question for the group. Have you taken advantage of quarantine to improve yourself? And if so, what is it you've been working on? So if you've, what have you been working on to improve yourself during the quarantine pandemic time? Josiah, you want to take a stab at that? Have you used this time to improve yourself in any way?
I can definitely say, similar to Alasia, I haven't been too like organized before, but now it's really allowed me to understand like timeliness and organization and that in that sort of way. It's also taught me the value of making bonds with people since we are through the internet. You can be discouraged by just looking at a screen every day, experiencing things like fatigue and stuff like that from sitting there. So just building bonds with people can be a relief on that.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Josiah. And Fernando, have you taken advantage of quarantine to improve yourself? And if so, what have you been working on?
Yes, I have taken time to improve myself. I not saying that I was good before, but I was always a person who always made sure that, you know, I had my work done on time, that I was doing good on everything. Like I couldn't have an A minus. Like it was not in my time to have an A minus. I was a person who was very like, yo, you know, do this, and this, that I didn't take time for myself. So now that we're in quarantine, I have found like more about myself. I've actually got into meditating, which is also a really good thing. I've been able to take care of my health more as a type 1 diabetic. Like the stress of waking up and going to school, like making sure that I have my insulin. And now that I'm at home, my sugar levels and my A1C levels have been way better.
Thanks. Appreciate that, Fernando. Paul wanted to hear from a few of you. How has the pandemic affected your ability to learn? So, Alexis, how's the pandemic affected your ability to learn?
Well, like, are we talking about it in a negative way or in a positive way?
However you wanted to describe.
Well, for starters, as I mentioned before, it has affected the way in which I interact with my classmates as well as my teachers. And yes, and since we are taking classes at home, there are a lot of distractions that are present when we are in classes. For example, our cell phones. In my school, we're not able to use our cell phones. We lock them up before school starts. And having access to my phone during class can at times be distracting, but you know, we as a student, we have to find a way to fix that problem and become more responsible.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's actually been an effect that COVID has had on me in terms of my education. Distractions. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And Chloe, how has this time during pandemic affected your ability to learn?
The time during the pandemic affected my time to learn is because as virtual learning, it's kind of harder to advocate for myself as usual as the in-person environment, because I could usually advocate to myself like, hey, can you help me with this? But teachers are so busy making work for us to do the next day that they probably don't have time to help us with what we have to do. So And also virtual learning also has affected the way I learn, because with virtual learning, there's more work provided than it'll usually be in school. And this is why I struggle with my in-school responsibilities and my home responsibilities. I struggle with balancing both of them because it's always more work. It's always school, and school is more work that I have to do, and I also have home responsibilities that I have to take care. So I'm always mostly overbooked to do stuff. So that's how it affected me.
Thanks for that. Okay, Chloe wanted to ask everyone, on a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, how would you rate your workload during the pandemic? So once again, on a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, how would you rate your workload during the pandemic? So Carl, what do you say? What's your workload been like during the pandemic?
Like 8.5, because
8.5. Yep, go ahead.
because we don't, like, in school we have a lot of work, but I mean, it was to where I could knock it down in that one class. I ain't have to like go back to it or none of that. Now it's like we got like 30 some 40 some assignments each class, and they just keep adding on every day, so I can't really keep a control grip on it.
Okay, excellent. Paul, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your workload been like during the pandemic?
I would give it like a 11, and I only say that because I'm a senior, so right now we're applying to colleges. Like I have to apply to at least 10 colleges by Friday, and I've applied to 3 colleges so far, but it's been a lot on us.
Yeah, that's interesting, Paul. Thanks for bringing that up. And I wonder, this is a question that we had at UNCF about, how, what you all are hearing from your classmates and your friends about the challenges they're experiencing since we've been remote and doing school during the pandemic. So I'd be curious, Alasia, like, what are you hearing from your friends and your classmates that you connect with either during school or offline in other ways about what their experiences are like during the pandemic?
For me, personally, my friends have taken on a really big load, especially with our arts classes. Especially having to play your instruments at home, having to learn how to record yourself while singing, having to do self-tapes now. It's really been hard for some people, and it's really different than going into the like audition room and just doing it, and then you're waiting for it, and now you're watching that video you just filmed over and over again and critiquing yourself the whole time. So I think, especially being at an art school, it's hard for a lot of people to get stuff done because the hours are the same and the workload has grown.
Wow, thanks for that. That was Alicia. I'm sorry, I lost my line here. And then Josiah, what about you? What are you hearing from your friends and classmates about how they're doing during the pandemic?
From my friends, mostly we hear stuff about the workload being more. Although I've grown the hypothesis of where because we can see all the work in one place, it may appear to be more, which may discourage us from doing it as fast as we normally would, which makes it feel longer. But we definitely do. But it is definitely a growing concern that people think that the workload is larger, and people feel as though being in a virtual environment won't really help them to learn, because I know a lot of more visual learners and hands-on learners. So yeah.
Wow. Thanks for that. Chloe had another question for you all. And I think this speaks to some of the experiences you all have been sharing. So Chloe wanted to know, have you all observed that after completing your virtual school day, sometimes you're just too tired to do anything else, or you just want to lay down and go to sleep at the end of the day? So be interested, actually, anyone who want to chime in here, but I'll start with Fernando, and anybody else, would you wave a hand and we'll let you jump in here. Fernando, how you feeling at the end of each day?
Well, at the end of this day, I definitely feel exhausted. As you know, having, like I said, having to take care of my little brother, having to be in class for most of the day, and then after the day ends, I have other extracurricular activities that I do. For example, I'm DC's first junior youth ambassador for the Special Olympics. So we have a meeting after school. And then on top of all of that, we have work that like piles up. Like answering the question a few questions ago that was like from on a count from 1 to 10, the amount of workload. Like it's definitely gotten to the point where it's 10 for me, where it's just like piled on top. And I don't know, at the end of the day, I'm just really exhausted. But I try to.
Yeah. Curious, anyone else at the end of the day, how you feeling? Alasia, go ahead.
At the end of the day, I usually just crash and just go to sleep. And sometimes I don't do it on purpose, but I just lay down and I wake up and it's hours later. I was used to having long hours because Duke is from 8:30 to 5, but it's something about sitting and staring at a screen, and then you're doing a lot in your arts classes, and then I just feel more exhausted and then there's more work. So
Alexis?
Well, I also agree with Alasia and Fernando that I feel drained and tired as well, since just staring at the screen is really exhausting. Even though we're not doing nothing physically, it's still like exhausting since you're just sitting in one place the whole time, just staring at the screen, and that could affect your vision as well. Also, just since I've like as a junior, I'm attempting to join like programs as well, to build up on my college applications and stuff. Um, After class, I go straight to my programs, and that drains me more since I really don't have no time for myself. And I sit and stare at the screen for like the majority of my time throughout the day. Um, and at times, because of the work I receive, I am not able to go to sleep at a good time. So I usually go to sleep uh around like 11, or even at times 2 o'clock, because of the amount of work I am given. And if I'm lucky enough, I'll probably go to sleep like around 11. 11 or 10 if the workload is not as much. So it's pretty draining, to be honest.
I feel you on that screen time and eyes, Alexis. These glasses are new. Carl, you said you want to chime in here on how you feel at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, I'd be tired because staring at the screen for a long time, my eyes start hurting, and I'd be tired. But as a basketball player, I can't go to sleep, so I gotta go outside, get shots up, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I don't actually be going to sleep until midnight, and then gotta wake up and do it all over again. So I don't be getting that much sleep, for real.
Thanks, Carl. Thanks. So we're going to pivot now and take some questions from the audience. I'm going to read back some questions that we have from the audience here and move this through our panelists. Thank you all very much. And I will tell you, we've got some audience questions that are directed to some of our panelists. So first, Chloe, we'll have you start and then we'll share it with some other people. But this is from your aunt, Dolores Barber, and she wanted you to know she's very proud of you and loves you. But she also wanted to know what you all think about how the shutdown and remote school is impacting your college goals. So Chloe, I'd love to hear from you, and then we'll ask a couple other people to chime in on that.
Impacting my college goals. I can't really relate to like Paul because he has to, trying to get into college, but me, I'm in the 7th grade, so I'm not really thinking about getting college, but it has impacted my work environment, I'll say that. And yeah, I think, that's all.
Yeah, I'd be interested from any of our seniors. What are your thoughts about how this experience is impacting your college? Go ahead, Paul.
So well, for me, I haven't been able to take like the standardized test that most colleges require. Basically, a lot of colleges require like your SAT score, your AP scores, and I haven't been able to take those. So a lot of the schools that I would like to apply to, if I wanted to apply to them, I would have to find a way to take those tests first, get the score back, and then add them to my Common App to apply to more schools.
Yeah, thanks for that, Paul. And I know Fernanda wanted to jump in on this. Fernanda, how is this experience impacting your college goals?
Well, it's impacted my college goals in a way that, I can't get the necessary sources to like being able to get help to apply to college. Like everything that I've done for now, I've done with a little bit like of explaining from different teachers and different administrators at school. And I mean, right now, thankfully, every single college that I've applied to so far has like I've been accepted to, but from other friends and peers that I know, it's not as easy to like Paul said, the standardized test. If you didn't have a good test score last year, a lot of people retake them this year, and it's really hard to do that right now because of the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that, Fernando. We're going to move along to some of the other audience questions. This is a simple one from Wanda Lockridge. Josiah, Wanda Lockridge is looking for want to know if you'd be willing to present on a Kwanzaa principle during an event this weekend. We can make the connection between you and Ms. Lockridge to help make that happen. They're looking for a Ward 8 high school student. Would you be willing to help them out?
Of course, I'd be happy to. Just email me and we can discuss the details.
Excellent. So Wanda, we'll connect you with Josiah offline. Thank you for participating this evening. Got a question from Bet Scipio. With so much at risk going into the future of young adults, really need to focus on education, IT, medical fields. Oh, yeah. So I guess this is just a question with so much at risk for all of you all these days. I think the question is trying to get at what are the fields you all are interested in pursuing after having gone through this experience this year. If you've got any thoughts about other fields that are more important now during the time of COVID with regard to IT. I wonder if any of you are thinking about any different career fields than you thought about before this. Alasia?
I wanted to go into acting in some kind of way, but after the shutdown of Broadway, it kind of like hit me that could happen at any time. Something could happen and they could shut down a whole bunch of things. So I still would like to go into acting, but I think I want to work. I want to stay in DC a little longer, maybe, and work on some stuff in like maybe my community. Maybe work a little at Duke Ellington again, if that's possible.
Excellent. And then question from Raquel Ortiz here. She wants to know, what can adults, teachers, administrators, parents, and mentors do to support students more these days? Be interested in thoughts you all have on that. What can adults in and around your lives be doing to support you more or better? Chloe, was that an answer? Go ahead, Paul.
This is a question that I don't know about. I can't I can't speak for everybody else on the panel, but for me and my classmates, we get this question a lot, and it's just like we don't know. Like, it's not we don't know, but we're lost, just like everybody else during this pandemic. We're all trying to do what we can to get by, stay safe, and stay alive at this point.
Yeah, appreciate that. Chloe, were you getting ready to answer?
No, I was talking to my father.
That's okay. That's okay. We had a question here from the audience. Have any of you ever felt like you're penalized for having your camera turned off during remote classes, and how does this affect your participation? I see heads shaking. Josiah?
I'd say no, because my teachers have been very, very understanding that with you being at home, there's a lot of aspects of being there that they cannot control and you cannot control, which may discourage you from turning on your camera. So the having cameras on in class policy is strongly encouraged to help build community, but it's not something that we feel as though needs to be enforced.
Yeah. Would anybody else want to chime in on that? Yeah, Paul.
Well, it all depends on what teacher it is for me. Like some teachers require your camera to be on to get your full participation points for that class period.
Got it. I've got a question here from Lauren McKenzie. I'd love to hear from Alexis and Carl on this. What's the best distance or remote learning lesson you've experienced so far?
Like, are you talking about in our classes, like in subjects, or?
Yeah, I mean, just it could be anything, but what's the best lesson or best learning experience you've had so far in remote learning? Anything just stand out to you that you thought like that was really done well or really helped me learn something?
Well, I've gotten a new teacher, my AP ELA teacher, language and composition teacher. Many students talked badly upon him because he was, well, not badly, but they said he was a strict teacher. He was really hard and stuff like that. But and I entered this class thinking in the way that students would tell me or speak about him. But after entering his class and learning, I've actually I'm thankful that I've taken his class and that he teaches me, because he's actually a really good teacher. He teaches me. He teaches the class by pushing them every time to try their best in their assignments. And even though sometimes students may feel pressure we understand that he really cares about us and he wants us to achieve great in our academics. So that's something that I remember and I'm grateful for in my virtual learning. So yeah.
Thanks, Alexis. Carl, any particular distant learning lessons jump out to you as things that were really helpful or really worked for you?
I mean, chemistry, my chemistry class probably was the best, but I mean, it really wasn't all that. It's not all that because I had that teacher for biology last year,
Mhm.
but chemistry is the only class that I really like. I look up to my fun going to every day
Mm-hmm.
and completing that class.
Got it. Thanks. So we got a few other questions. I think we'll follow up with our student panel to see if we can get answers to share back with our audience. We've got a lot of questions that popped up here in the Q&A. But we're starting to move on to the final segment here. So what I wanted to do, and I know we've talked about this with you all before, and this question actually came up from our audience as well, so I'm glad we're getting to this, is I know each of you has some thoughts about what we should be doing and what education should look like going forward in the future. So, would love for each of you, and I'll work us through the list here, based on on the experience you've had so far during the pandemic, how would you reimagine education, or what would you like to see be different about the way we do education going forward once we're out of the pandemic? So why don't we start with Carl, and then I'll work our way through the list. So Carl, what would you like to see different in the future of education?
I would like to see that like teachers taking their time teaching a thing and teaching the subject. Well, teaching the lesson, and like get through it and give us time to complete all of our work, not just drop it all on us every day. Yeah.
Excellent. Josiah, how would you reimagine education going forward?
Education through a looking glass post-COVID for me would be, it would definitely capitalize on the voices of the students.
Mm-hmm.
It would build up and be more flexible for students and allow students to feel more comfortable in this environment that they're in. So if that means that a student feels as though their home is safer than the school building, or they don't really need to be dealing with people in the classroom, then they can do that. But also, if we feel as though having that hands-on experience is a better way for me to learn, then I have that option as well.
Got it. Alasia, how would you reimagine education going forward?
Something that really helped me this year was the website Canvas.
Mm-hmm.
They put all our assignments on there, all the due dates, and it made it really easy for me to know what I need to turn in. So going forward, once we go back to school physically, I would love to have Canvas be our main source of getting our work and no more paperwork.
Got it. Fernando, what would you re-envision for education going forward?
So how I re-envision my education going forward, and not only for me, for many other students, is, for example, students like the ESL students, special education students, students with I don't know who need extra help, the extra that need. Ours not only focus out like these past years, let's say 100 years ago, smartest, brightest students, but we don't see that could be shaped into being those students also. So one of my things going back is
Sounds like we're having connection difficulty there. Fernando, we'll come back to you.
Hello?
Yep. Fernando, you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, that was one of my things. And something else that, like, going back, like this day that we have in between the week, the Wednesday, that's something that I definitely see myself and other students personally enjoying, as like a day off to catch up with schoolwork. Since, you know, we're getting more work now, I feel that it should balance itself out with having that one day off to be able to catch up, sorry. And it's good for many other students that have other different responsibilities, because teachers and administrators also need to know that students have a life outside of school, that a lot of students, you know, not only need to worry about making sure that they go to school, but they also have to worry about helping pay bills, which that happens to many students. Many students that are struggling, their families are struggling, so they have to help around the house. So that's one of my things, like having that day off, it's like lifting weight off of us.
Got it. Paul, how would you reimagine school going forward?
At this moment, I honestly don't know. Like we all want everything to go back to normal, just going to school, no mask, send out friends. But now I honestly I don't think there is a normal. I think I my my heart is telling me we're gonna be virtual forever for the rest of our life, but like I want to go back to school with like with like requirements, like you have to take your temperature before you come in, 6 feet, stickers everywhere. So yeah.
Thanks for that, Paul. And Chloe, how do you imagine school being different going forward in the future?
I imagine school being different in the future is a more flexible workload that's on us, like it was when we were in school. Because when we were in school, the work was not as much as it was when we were going in virtual. So more flexible workload, and also us being able to balance our home responsibilities and our school responsibilities. So we'll no longer be struggling with that, and it could be easier for me and my peers.
Yeah. And then Alexis, we'll give you the last word on how would you reimagine school in the future?
Well, I reimagine school in the future, like it is or how it's been the past years. However, with some changes in the way in which students interact with each other or teachers, well, in regards to health and, you know, safetyness, where students are required to wear masks and get their temperature checked as soon as they enter school to prevent any spread of the virus. I also believe that, well, schools should keep the synchronized day, since I feel like it's a really good day for students, since students are able to release stress that they hold throughout the weekend. I mean, throughout the week, because of school. Well, they be able to like catch up on work, or you know, start work before it is due, and give them more you know, um, well, and well, yeah, let them catch up in school. And I also find this to be like very beneficial to students. It's it can actually help like students in better their mental health, since well, it can help with like generating better grades, and can also help them exceed in their education and personal lives, since they're given a day where they're not, you know, pressured by this class, or a day where they're not you know, obligated to go to school, but still encouraged to complete work. So yeah, that's what I believe.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you all for that. That was really interesting and helpful. I feel like I learned a lot today. And so I want to start off by thanking all of you for agreeing to participate in this conversation this evening. So Carl, Chloe, Josiah, Alexis, Alasia, Fernando, Paul, thank you very much. I know all of you were very open to being a part of this event, and we spent some time with you in the last week and a half to get ready for this. I want to personally thank you for taking time to have this conversation with us and to be on this forum with all this audience. We had a lot of people in the audience. I think my last time I looked up, there were 88 or so people in the audience participating this evening. So I'm sure our guests and audience really appreciated hearing what you had to say. And by way of follow-up, we had a glitch with our polling questions. So we will recirculate the polling questions out in a follow-up email to our audience. Our students would love to hear your responses. So we'll send the polling questions back out via email, as well as some additional resources. I think a couple of our students pointed out today, and we certainly believe this at UNCF, that it's just extremely important to hear from student voices and understand where they're coming from as we think about the path forward, how we reimagine education to best meet their needs. So we've got some resources in there that we're going to share with our audience about things that we've learned from various perspectives, student voices, K through college. So we appreciate that. So you expect to see an email from us with some additional resources, polling questions that our students asked that they wanted to hear about from adults who care about education. And once again, I just want to thank all of you for spending time with us this afternoon and for working with us last week to get ready for this event. It's been a great conversation. I know I've learned a lot, and I appreciate all of you being honest with us. I know that these are some tough topics to get into. You all are going through what has to be the most challenging school experience that any of us will ever experience in any of our lifetimes, and probably than we'll experience in ever, or 100 years or more. So my hat goes off to each of you for being able to find a way, sometimes out of no way. I think there's a lot for the adults who work in education to reflect on that you all shared, and it sounds like there's a lot that could be done to make this experience, if not easy, easier for all of you. Know that the folks at UNCF are here to help in any way, shape, or form that we can, and that once again, we are very thankful and appreciative for all of you all's time, attention, and especially to many of your parents and teachers who helped us work with you and get you signed up and online and test run this. So please thank all the adults who helped make this happen for you as well. Appreciation to all your parents, and thanks to all your siblings who I know some of you spend some time keeping eyes on and supporting and supervising for having somebody else take care of them for this time. So you all have a good evening. To all of our audience, thank you very much for joining us. I hope everybody has a good evening. Stay safe. Take care. Remember, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Good night.